Hello and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, at least 140 people have been killed in multiple strikes in the city of Paris. Well, that is the big story that we'll be tracking. Also, Prime Minister Modi begins his Turkey visit after his three-day tour to the UK. We'll get you all the details and much more. Let us begin with the headlines. Worst terror attack in France since World War II. Nearly 140 people killed in multiple attacks across Paris. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to begin a Turkey visit to attend a G20 Summit. On last day of his Britain tour, Modi addresses Indian diaspora, says diversity is India's strength. Nitish Kumar to be elected leader of the Grand Alliance Legislature Party. Meeting of the alliance to take place today in Patna. Russia's Athletics Federation provisionally suspended from international competition, including the Olympic Games, for alleged involvement in widespread doping. And India look for an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 4-match test series as they take on South Africa in the second test in Bangalore. India win toss, choose to bowl first. Well, the biggest story this morning, at least 140 people have been killed in the French capital, Paris, as multiple explosions rocked the city simultaneously. Explosions were reported in Bataclan Concert Hall, a national football stadium and few restaurants. Now, people were taken hostage in the concert hall, but fresh reports suggest that this hostage situation has ended. Police officials said that 5 attackers have been killed. However, the search is on for more suspects. France has declared a national state of emergency and has closed its borders following the unprecedented attacks. French President François Hollande has cancelled his trip to Turkey for the G20 Summit amidst the crisis. It is still not clear who were behind the deadly attacks, but a report suggests that Islamic State has claimed responsibility. Meanwhile, the security has been beefed up in New York and Washington, D.C. as well in the wake of terror attacks in Paris.
Terror strikes Paris yet again. Multiple attacks were reported in several entertainment sites around French capital simultaneously. The deadliest attack appears to have targeted the Bataclan Concert Hall. Gunmen took many hostages before police forces stormed in. 2 explosions rocked the French National Stadium where a friendly soccer match was being played between France and Germany. French President François Hollande was also present in the stadium.
Des attaques terroristes d'une ampleur sans précédent sont en cours dans l'agglomération parisienne. Il y a plusieurs dizaines de tués. Il y a beaucoup de blessés. C'est une horreur.
Several explosions were also reported in neighboring restaurants in the 10th district.
C'était assez confus en fait, parce que nous on a entendu 2 explosions. Moi, au départ je pensais que c'était des bombes agricoles. Après il y a eu plein de rumeurs à l'intérieur du stade, on était à la porte E, ça a pété juste à côté, c'est vrai que c'était bruyant mais on pensait que c'était juste des bombes agricoles. Après il y a eu des rumeurs, on a entendu parler de fusillades.
François Hollande has declared a state of emergency in France. An emergency meeting has been called for. French borders remain closed. All emergency services have been mobilized in Paris. A heavy security cover is in place, even as police helicopters circle the places under attack.
Sur ma décision, mobiliser toutes les forces possibles pour qu'il puisse y avoir la neutralisation des terroristes et la mise en sécurité de tous les quartiers qui peuvent être concernés. J'ai également demandé qu'il y ait des renforts militaires. Ils sont en ce moment sur l'agglomération parisienne.
US President Barack Obama condemned the attacks, calling it an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. British Prime Minister David Cameron also expressed shock and offered all possible help.
We've seen an outrageous attempt to terrorize innocent civilians. This is an attack not just on Paris, it's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share. We stand prepared and ready to provide whatever assistance that the government and the people of France need to respond.
No one has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. However, speculations are high that IS might be behind the deadliest attacks. At the beginning of year in January, several innocent people were killed in Paris in the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, President Pranab Mukherjee condemned the deadly terrorist attacks in French capital Paris and expressed anguish over the incident in which at least 140 people were killed. The president tweeted, strongly condemned terrorist attacks in Paris. India stands firmly by France. My heart goes out to its people. Vice President Mohammed Hamid Ansari has also expressed a shock at the Paris attack. In a message, he said, and I quote him now, I'm shocked by the terrorist attack in Paris. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of those whose loved ones have been killed and with the French people. There can be no justification of such barbaric and reprehensible acts. This is not just an attack against Paris, but against all humanity. We stand with the people and government of France and commend their swift action in dealing with the attackers. Also, Prime Minister Narinder Modi has condemned the deadly terrorist attacks in Paris that has killed at least 140 people. Modi tweeted, saying the news from Paris is anguishing and dreadful. Prayers with the families of the deceased. We are united with the people of France in this tragic hour. All right, condemnation here coming out from across the world. Moving on to some other news, Prime Minister Narinder Modi will be in Turkey from today for the G20 Summit. The Prime Minister will wrap up his three-day visit to the UK and head to Antalya for the summit on 15th and 16th. Now, he's expected to hold bilateral meetings with some of the other leaders of the G20 countries. On top of the list are Turkey, Germany and Japan. At the G20 Summit, India is expected to strongly urge member countries to join the Base Erosion and Profit Shifting, that is BEPS initiative, under the aegis of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and also take up the issue of maintaining the development agenda under the Doha round of talks at the upcoming ministerial meeting of the WTO in Nairobi. On Friday, Modi addressed a packed audience at the Wembley Stadium and also lunched with the Queen.
Nearly 60,000 people were at London's Wembley Stadium where Prime Minister Modi addressed the Indian diaspora. Modi assuring his audience that India is a land of opportunities and that there is no need for it to remain poor.
भरपूर कोशिश कर रहा हूं और मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं, जो सपने आपने देखे हैं, जो सपने हर हिंदुस्तानी ने देखे हैं, वे सपने पूरे करने का सामर्थ्य भारत में है.
With the recent easing up of FDI norms in 15 major sectors including civil aviation, banking, defence, retail and news broadcasting, the Prime Minister said that the move reflects his government's unwavering push for reforms.
और जब मैं FDI की बात करता हूं तो उसका एक महत्वपूर्ण पहलू तो है फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट, लेकिन मेरे लिए दूसरा भी महत्वपूर्ण पहलू है फास्ट डेवलप इंडिया. और इन दोनों को बैलेंस करते हुए हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं.
Modi, who has been under attack in India over allegations of rising intolerance in the country and in the wake of the drubbing in the Bihar elections, spoke about diversity and the need to cherish it.
विविधता ये हमारी विशेषता भी है, विविधता ये हमारी आन बान शान भी है, विविधता ये हमारी शक्ति भी है.
Earlier, Modi met Britain's Queen at the Buckingham Palace. The two exchanged views over lunch. The Queen also showed Modi items from the royal collection, including a shawl woven by Mahatma Gandhi for her coronation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, earlier in the day, a meeting with the British Prime Minister and lunch with the Queen at Buckingham Palace and meeting with the business community were just a few of the engagements of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Here is a report.
After receiving a warm welcome, Prime Minister Narendra Modi getting assurances from the UK Prime Minister on capital and finance for India's flagship infrastructure projects.
On the trade and economic side, the leaders discussed how the UK could partner India in its flagship initiatives like Make in India, Clean India, Smart Cities, Skills India and Digital India. A central outcome of the discussions was the desire on both sides to collaborate in leveraging the City of London as a global financial hub for raising infrastructure financing for India's ambitious infrastructure projects.
Supporting Modi, Cameron said he wanted to support the Indian Premier in his efforts to transform India with improved infrastructure and education.
A total of 5 outcome documents and 11 MOUs were finalized today.
Speaking at the Guildhall, a historic building in the heart of London's financial district, Modi appealed to British business leaders to invest in a more transparent India.
There were a number of regulatory and taxation issues which were adversely impacting on the sentiments of foreign investors. We have taken a very decisive step to remove a number of long-pending concerns.
Concerns were also raised about India's handling of intellectual property rights. Modi said his government is working hard to improve it.
I am personally convinced and want to assure you that India is committed to protect intellectual property rights of all innovators and entrepreneurs.
Former Infosys director TV Mohandas Pai praised Modi for marketing India.
He's selling India hard, and I think Great Britain wants to work with India too.
The two prime ministers also welcomed a package to promote clean energy worth £3.2 billion of commercial agreements, joint research programs and initiatives to share technical, scientific, financial and policy expertise. Cameron has visited India 3 times since taking office in 2010 to try to climb up the diplomatic pecking order. But Modi is the first Indian head of government to pay an official visit to Britain, the country's former colonial ruler, in almost a decade. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, protests have marred Prime Minister Narendra Modi's maiden visit to the UK. Now, hundreds of Sikh, Nepali and Tamil demonstrators gathered outside Downing Street, protesting against alleged human rights violation. Some even criticised the UK government for rolling out a red carpet for Modi.
Hundreds of people gathered outside UK Prime Minister David Cameron's official residence at 10 Downing Street to protest against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. More than 200 writers, including Salman Rushdie, Ian McEwan and Nikita Lalwani, have signed an open letter to Cameron urging him to raise concerns about freedom of expression in India during their talks. The protests are taking place amid row over intolerance back home. Till 3 years ago, Modi was denied visa to UK for a decade over the 2002 Gujarat riots. On Thursday, Modi talked tough against incidents of intolerance during the joint press conference with Cameron. But the protesters aren't happy with the kind of grand welcome Modi has received on his maiden visit.
We all know what Modi is capable of, what he has done, in complicit in war crime, and we're all very, very angry that he was welcomed here, speaking in our parliament and shaking hands with the Queen, and also elevated and having a kind of party sort of thing tomorrow. And we're very angry about that. Why we have to celebrate this criminal?
A section of the activists are from Nepal who urged Cameron to put pressure on Modi to stop blocking trade along the Indo-Nepal border.
UK has been opened a red carpet. I think UK should not look only into the political and commercial affairs. UK has a rich pride in culture of raising a voice to the voiceless countries, peoples and state. It is the glory of the British values and culture that they should respect, and they should give a pressure that what you are doing is wrong.
We can voice ourselves here, and I hope David Cameron is going to do something and talk about this. There is nothing that cannot be solved with diplomacy, but we need something to be. We need a diplomacy talk going on.
Nepal is facing a shortage of essential supplies since protests began against its new constitution recently. Madhesi protesters have camped along the border with India, hampering trade. Facing allegations of aiding the protesters by blocking border trade, India has taken up the matter with Nepal to sort out differences diplomatically. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in other news, on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, a function will be held in the Central Hall of Parliament House, where the portrait of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is put up. Dignitaries, members of Parliament and invitees will pay floral tributes on the occasion. Vice President Hamid Ansari will offer floral tributes to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru at his Samadhi in Shantivan. Also, Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi and other dignitaries will also pay their homage. In another event, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh will be the chief guest at the function to commemorate the closing ceremony of 125th birth anniversary of Nehru at Teen Murti Bhavan. Well, Congress is setting up a big finish to year-long celebrations to commemorate Nehru's 125th birth anniversary. A public meeting will be held at the Indira Gandhi Stadium, where a film on Pandit Nehru will be released, and web portals in both English and Hindi to highlight the legacy of India's first Prime Minister will be launched. In October 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reconstituted the National Committee to commemorate Pandit Nehru's 125th birth anniversary. A musical celebration of Nehru's anniversary will also be held at Nehru Park in the evening today. And right now we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 12:30 p.m. and Sunday at 1 p.m. Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. News from Bihar. Well, Nitish Kumar is all set to be elected the leader of the Grand Alliance Legislature Party today during a meeting in the Bihar Assembly premises. RJD Chief Lalu Prasad has been authorized by his party's legislatures to nominate its leader in the new assembly. Asked as to who will be RJD legislature party leader amid speculation that Tejaswi Yadav, one of his sons, would get the key post, Prasad has said that he will take the call. Remember, the Grand Alliance 178 seats, with the RJD with 80, JDU 71 and Congress's 27 to inflict a humiliating defeat on the NDA, which got 58 seats, of which BJP accounted for 53. Now, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has criticised the former servicemen protesting over one rank one pension scheme, condemning the burning or returning of gallantry medals as an insult to the nation. Parrikar asked the protesters to instead put their grievances to a judicial committee. He also alleged that the army veterans' protest was politically motivated. On Saturday, the government notified the scheme that will benefit around 30 lakh war veterans and war widows, but the agitating army veterans objected to some of the proposals. While the government has proposed to revise the pension every 5 years, the veterans wanted it reviewed every year.
Medals is a recognition by the nation of the sacrifice done by the armed forces, and that to an individual. Burning them, returning them is an insult of the nation and insult of the defense force itself. I don't appreciate that. That is, let them put it before the commission. The commission or the judicial committee, they will address it. I think you should read. Today, if I start reading something, it will become allegation. I don't want to. Let them prove themselves that it is not political.
Well, on to some international news. Backed by US-led airstrikes, the Kurdish forces reclaimed the town of Sinjar that was under the siege by Islamic State militants. This marks a key victory for the coalition forces in their offensive against the militant group, which is spreading its control across Iraq and neighboring regions.
A day after launching an offensive to recapture the Iraqi town of Sinjar, Turkish fighters waved their flags on a number of buildings and government offices on Friday. Claiming full control of the town, Kurdish fighters said they attacked the IS from all directions with help from US forces.
موجودين بيشمركة بطن الشنقار وخلي كاميرا يصورها هي أنا موجودين فرع ودا يمشون ويتكاونون وياه وعندنا هواية يعني أشياء مال داعش بإيدنا وجنازات بإيدنا.
The offensive began early at dawn of Thursday. Backed by US-led air forces, some 7,500 Kurds cut off the town from 3 fronts. Within hours, they successfully blocked main roads and secured much ground. The coalition says some 60 to 70 militants had been killed in the airstrikes. The Iraqi army has now launched an offensive to recapture the western city of Ramadi from Islamic State militants.
إن أبناءكم في قواتكم المسلحة لا يعرفون التوقف والخنوع ويصولون على الباطل ويبيدونه أينما كان وها هم الآن يبدأون التقدم لتطهير مدينة الرماد العزيزة.
So we do not expect that this is going to be an easy fight, but we do have confidence in in the forces, the Iraqi Kurdish forces there, who have shown their capability in the past. And with the support of the coalition, particularly the air campaign, we think this is an opportunity to deal ISIL a blow.
The victory will provide much needed momentum to the Iraqi government and the Kurdish forces in their fight against the IS. The group is believed to have killed or enslaved thousands of Yazidis when they captured Sinjar in August last year. Many more became trapped on nearby Mount Sinjar without food or water for days until they were rescued by Syrian Kurdish forces. The risk of genocide was a key factor in the US decision to launch airstrikes in Iraq. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's get you some more international news in World Wrap. The Pentagon says it is reasonably certain that a US drone strike in Syria has killed the Islamic State militant Jihadi John. However, it said that a formal declaration to the effect will take some time. Mohammed Emwazi, a Kuwaiti-born British militant, appeared in the videos of beheading of Western hostages. UK Prime Minister David Cameron said targeting Emwazi was the right thing to do. 3 drones, 1 British and 2 American, were involved in the strike. A 7.0 magnitude earthquake has struck off Japan's southwestern coast, triggering a small tsunami. The Japan Met Agency said that 1 feet tsunami was registered on the southern Nakanoshima Island. However, there were no immediate reports of any damage or injuries. Meanwhile, a tsunami warning issued for Kagoshima and Satsunan Islands was later lifted. Russia's State Aviation Authority has banned Egypt's national carrier from flying to Russia. Egypt Air had been the only airline flying between the two countries. Flights from Russia to Egypt are already suspended after a passenger plane crashed in the Sinai last month. All the 224 people on board were killed, who were mostly Russian nationals. Western officials say that there is a strong possibility that a bomb exploded on the plane, but Russia and Egypt say it is too early to draw conclusions. Well, in an unprecedented move, Russia was provisionally suspended from track and field on Friday by the world's sports governing body. Now, this coming in the wake of sweeping doping allegations against the country's athletes, coaches and officials. Well, the ban could disrupt preparations for next year's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro and will remain in place while the case is considered more fully. Athletics world governing body voted overwhelmingly to provisionally suspend the Russian Federation and the country's athletes from the sport following doping revelations. The International Association of Athletics Federation Council voted 22-1 in favor of the suspension.
Всероссийская федерация легкой атлетики временно отстранена от участия в ИАФ. Что означает временное отстранение? Оно означает, что мы не можем принимать участие ни в каких международных событиях, соревнованиях. Ну, правда, благо их сейчас и нет, конечно, в ноябре месяце.
The decision came after the IIAF held a teleconference hosted by President Sebastian Coe to discuss the World Anti-Doping Agency's report released earlier this week. The report alleged systemic collusion between the Russian athletes, country's federation and anti-doping authorities and called it a deeply rooted culture of cheating that enabled athletes to take performance-enhancing drugs without fear of being tested. Russia's participation in the upcoming internationals, especially 2016 Olympics, is now under a cloud.
Если лишат такую большую страну Россию, ну чисто если политика, то они проиграют. И вообще все проиграют, если будут с нами не дружить.
Да, сейчас вообще мы во всем показываем результат, в принципе-то. Будем надеяться, естественно. Я за то, чтобы все-таки участвовали. Я не думаю, что все поддержат за.
Russia will have to show compliance with WADA doping regulations to return to competition. However, the ban will keep Russian athletes out of all sanctioned international track and field events worldwide. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Well, on to cricket now, and India has won the toss and elected to bowl first in the second test at N. Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore. Fast bowler Ishant Sharma is back in the team after serving a one-test suspension. All-rounder Stuart Binney has been recalled in the team. Now, South African team is without Premier fast bowler Dale Steyn and Vernon Philander, both being ruled out because of injury. However, all-rounder JB Duminy, who missed the first test due to injury, is back in action. The match will also be AB de Villiers' 100th test. India had won the first test comprehensively and will look for an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 4-match test series. The hosts have not lost a test in Bangalore since 2005. And more sporting action in Sports Beat. Top seed Saina Nehwal stormed into the semi-final of the China Open Badminton Tournament with a straight sets win against Japan's Nozomi Okuhara. The top seed won 21-16, 21-13. Saina will next play Chinese 7th seed Wang Yihan for a spot in the final. Alex Hale's maiden ODI century helped England to a 95-run win over Pakistan in the second ODI. Batting first, England posted a total of 283 for 5, with Joe Root and Jason Roy helping with half centuries. Pakistan batting collapse saw them bowled out for just 188. The series is now levelled at 1-1. Spain beat England 2-0 in an international friendly, ending England's run of 16 games unbeaten run. Perez Martinez and Santi Cazorla scored for Spain. In another friendly, Netherlands beat Wales 3-2 with Arjen Robben scoring a double. So that's all in this edition of News, but news and updates continue on your channel. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.